Hello, my name is Okada, and welcome back to Pixel Perfect, episode 68. Oh, yeah, we are getting close to the end, and we have a couple of things that are important that we need to talk about. First off, if you happen to click on the previous episode, the electromagnetic Fabergé egg, and think that there was a mistake and abandon ship before, say, the 1 minute mark, you might want to go back and check that out again. You see, that episode garnered a lot of clicks, which is great for a small-time YouTuber such as myself. However, the intro was a gag. It was a joke. And looking at the statistics, a lot of people abandoned ship before the gag was revealed. And I'm a little concerned that maybe I was a little too convincing in the joke. So the intro basically started out looking like I was playing Subnautica. I promise you it was a satisfactory episode, and if you go beyond the 1 minute mark or so, then the gag will be revealed. I worked very hard on that intro. It is a little amateur, but I had a lot of fun with it. I'm very proud of it, and I'd like to share that fun and mirth with as many people as I can. But that's enough of that. Let's move on to the second topic that we want to talk about, and arguably the more important one, which is that Satisfactory is exiting early access. In fact, it is doing so very soon. You see, last week, Coffee Stain Studios issued their closed beta invites to a select group of players, which means that there is a 1.0 version of the game out there. Also, in a live stream earlier this week, their community manager, Snoot, revealed that the beta is probably only going to last about another 2 weeks. That means we have maybe 2 or 3 weeks before they publish 1.0. And that's a strict deadline for us because we're not taking Pixel Perfect into 1.0. There are going to be a lot of changes to the recipes and the balancing of the game, and an established map like this is not going to survive that conversion. Plus, I want to start a new run anyway when 1.0 is out because I want to see the new content from the beginning, and I've avoided things like picking up the alien artifacts and whatnot, which are going to be part of the storyline once the game is fully released. The relevance to today is that we have a couple of things that we need to get done before 1.0 comes out. Now, fortunately, we only have one product left to manufacture, which is the cooling system, but we do have 2 more things left to do for the space elevator. Now, unfortunately, that does mean that we are not going to go nuclear. We're just not going to have time for it. And that's not really a big deal, right? We don't need the power because our tower of power alone is powering our entire factory. And that was a fantastic project that we did a long way back, and we have skirted along on all that power ever since. But that's fine. Nuclear is something that we can save for 1.0. But we are going to be so tight on time that we're going to need to do some things a little out of order to make sure that we're done on time. So we're going to start today with the space elevator because it's going to take longer for us to get that done than the cooling systems. So I'm going to head over to the space elevator manufacturing, and we'll go over exactly what all needs to be done. So I'll see you there. Here we are back at the space elevator facility. Yeah, we're going to be spending a fair amount of time here. Let's hop out of the train. And as you can see, the train is carrying with it some freight. Let's take a look, see what's in there. Bunch of different stuff. It's actually, I think, probably going to take a couple of trips for it to get everything here. So we're going to work on 2 space elevator parts kind of at the same time because, again, we are shy on time. So a lot of that is actually building material, not necessarily just material for the space elevator directly. Now, last episode we established the modular engine manufacturing. That is actually done, or basically done, but we don't have time to go deal with that yet. So we do need to do the next step of that, but there's one step that's going to take a tremendous amount of time, and that's the thing that we need to get started first. And in the interest of time, I'm not going to bring up the spreadsheet, so you're just going to take my word for it on the numbers. Our next big project, the final thing for the space elevator, will be nuclear pasta. Nuclear pasta requires 200,000 copper powder, which sounds like a lot, and it is. But the real math comes down to the amount of copper ingots it takes to make all of that copper powder. Yeah, it's going to take 1.2 million copper ingots. And we always like to do the exact numbers, and the reason why we're floating here is because of this giant wall of storage containers, which longtime viewers might recognize as the storage containers that we used when we needed 1.2 million cables. So this is going to get to see some life again. However, when we talk about stack sizes, cables stack in 200s and copper ingots only stack in 100, which means this is only half the amount of storage that we need. Oh yeah. It is just copper ingots, right? You think, well, we could just manufacture them as we go. Yes, we could. Sure, we could. But we like to do the mass storage things, right? We like to do exact numbers. And traditionally, we haven't done that when it comes to the ingot level. But 1.2 million, I just can't pass it up. We got to do it. And, I had been thinking about this, and I kind of had an idea for making like a big warehouse where we have all the storage units kind of, spiraling around like a floor, and then down a floor, and then down a floor, and down a floor. I kind of nixed that idea for a couple reasons. First of all, that's 125 storage containers. We're going to go up to 250. That's a lot of space. But more importantly, this has become kind of iconic to me. Whenever I've come over here, seeing this has just kind of become the landmark of the space elevator area. And while I originally intended to tear it down, I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it. And not only am I going to leave it, I'm going to double it. So I think we're going to build another set of them right over here and just plug them all in together. Now, of course, this means that we won't have exact numbers on the copper ingots because of all of the belts. Normally if we're talking about like 2 or 3 containers worth of something, then we just delete the belts after we fill up the containers, and that way we have exact numbers. This is way too much. So we will be over the numbers on copper ingots, but that's not a big deal. We don't care. But what we're going to do here is we're going to disconnect anything and everything that doesn't belong as part of the storage, which would probably just be those 2 things. That looks like that was a temporary input. We're going to make sure, why is that floor missing? We're going to make sure that it's empty of anything. Yeah, so that's the last step of it right there. And I believe everything's connected. Boom, it's going to go down. So everything else is all connected. Good. All right, so before we get started on expanding this, we need so many copper ingots that I think we need to first start filling it, and then we'll set up another set, and then we'll redirect the inputs to the secondary set. And I have a little bit of an idea here. I haven't done the math on how long it's going to take to get that many copper ingots together, but we do have some copper ingot manufacturing already established that we can take away from to start the process now, and then we can look back at the math and see if we need to supplement it. So first off, we have this set of copper ingots that are being made for the cables that were originally part of the 1.2 million. It's all been going into sync ever since with a little side storage. So we're just going to steal away the copper ingots from here. I'm not going to worry about changing any of this stuff out. I'm just going to leave it sitting for now. And we'll consider whether or not we need to repurpose these for something else later. But right now, I just want the copper ingots. And you can see I threw down a container here. This was just for me to get an idea for how many copper ingots would get stored in a container, and that's how we did the math to figure out we need 250. So at least we have some of them. But I'm going to redirect it over to here. I think our input is, I thought it was down there, but let's see. Yeah, I think, yeah, okay, right. So it was a little weird here because we didn't have the same height of a stack. So that goes over, comes up. As you can see, these are offset from the other ones because these are in reverse. And then it comes back over, comes up, goes back over until it reintroduces itself to the stack. We'll probably fix this. I don't know, because we need different numbers. But for now, that means we need to load in from down here. And I think we're just going to take from this line. It's only a Mark III belt. It gives you an idea that we are definitely not at capacity. You know what? I probably could do, you can see my inventory is full. So we're just going to leave a bunch of little containers all over the place. Let's go to logistics, Mark III belt, bring this back up the way it was. Right there. It doesn't need to be exact because we're going to divert it. Go across the top here. This is all temporary because we're going to, redirect once we have another set of these built and have them, feed into there. So this will all go somewhere else afterwards, but at least we'll have some of it stored up by then. But before we start doing that, we need to have more copper ingot coming in. Mark III belt's just not going to cut it. Fortunately, we do have more manufacturing going on in the area. Over at the Fabergé egg, we did a lot of temporary manufacturing in this area because we had a lot of materials that we were going to use. And we included copper in this one, even though we don't normally need it, because we knew we were going to do a lot of piping with all of the fluids that were going around. So we have copper ingot manufacturing already going here. And we do need to shut all this down and clean all this up anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to redirect these belts over to the station right there, and then we will just ferry it over to the space elevator. Pretty simple. In fact, it's going to be real easy to just grab onto this line right here. Let's just stop that. And bring that up. Come on, there you go. And let's grab the final spot. Oh, didn't quite make it. Perfect. So that's another Mark IV belt worth of copper ingots. Probably have some more inventory now that we can throw in there. There they are. Excellent. Very good. So what we'll do is we will set up the space elevator train and have it bounce back and forth over here. Some inventory that I didn't pick back up. Oh yeah, these are the portable miners from when I picked up the Mark III limestone miner. And didn't have the inventory space back then either. So I'll have to remember to come back and get those. So I'm going to set up the trains and get started porting all of this over. And then I think I'm probably going to come back and do a little bit of cleanup work. Because again, it's going to take time for all these to add up. And that's why we need to start them now. So even when I'm doing stuff off camera, they'll be stacking up. Because 1.2 million is a long way to go. All right, copper ingot storage is now established. We have the input being redirected around and merging with the stuff coming down from the station. So we're good with that, and it's working out pretty well here. So, we look at the old dismantle gun here. We can see that storage container is full, 4,800. There's one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Goodness. All right. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them are already full out of 250. But, the fact that they're making it to the front means that I've configured everything properly. And so we can just kind of forget about this and let it do its thing. Because again, this is for the nuclear pasta, which is the next and final step in the space elevator. Now, for today, we need to work on the thermal propulsion rockets. And I've looked ahead, and there's a small problem. And we've encountered this problem ever since Update 8, which is that we have missing items from, remember, we have exact counts when we do all of this. And I've kind of written it off before that maybe they were containers that had things in them when they went from update 7 to update 8 that might have deleted them, maybe things on belts or something. But we did the entire smart plating in update 8, and as you can see, we came up one shy. So one has been disappeared somewhere. And the machines are empty, you can see by the dismantle. And I've actually taken the time to record a little clip that I'm going to send to the developers as a bug report with evidence of this, because in the previous episode we actually established that we did have exactly 5,000. We did the count live on camera, so we know we had enough of these. There's definitely no mismath in it. We're also shy on rubbers, you can see, by quite a bit, which kind of supports the observation, because with rubber we had 37.5 thousand of those going through the system, and now we're 9 shy, and I'm sure that those were exact as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to manufacture a single smart plate here manually, and we'll just throw some rubber in there. Let's see, smart plate, what do I need? All right, everything that we need is right there. Let's just do this, that, and let's disconnect it so that we don't have to go fetch it out of the container. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. We are out of inventory space. I did some cleanup over at the Fabergé egg of some more of the stuff, while we were establishing the copper ingots. And real quick, like doing the math here, I didn't connect that one, so 2,400 plus 95 would be 2,500 minus 5, right? 4 inside the belt, which would account for the 1 that we are missing from here. And that's the final sub-step that we need for the thermal propulsion rockets. So let's grab that recipe right over here. Copy. That's going to require, of course, all the modular engines that we just created, a bunch of turbo motors, cooling systems, which, yes, we don't have manufacturing for yet. We're probably going to start that in this episode, but we pre-made these a long time ago. And the fuse modular frames. All of this should already be on site. Let's paste it. Let's make sure this is actually done. It is. We'll paste that. And we're good to go. I'm going to connect up all the conveyors that will be necessary to get these materials over to this area so we can start this production line real quick. Alright, I think we are ready to start the manufacturing. You can see all the products are slowly making their way over here, but that's fine. We only need 1,000 of these, so 1 per minute. Divided by the 4 machines, it's going to be 250 minutes. That's not a big deal. It'll probably be done long before we have our copper ingots for the copper powder anyway. So let's connect everything. As usual, it's all so slow that, only a Mark 1 belt's all we need. There they go, there they go. Let's get our cooling systems on the line. Where is the connection? It is, here? Yeah, that must be it. We'll find out if I'm wrong. And that would be our final one, our fuse modular frames. Excellent. And I think we are established. Good. It's a slow start, but it'll all get taken care of. So since we have some time to kill, I started to talk about the cooling system project, how we're going to do it and where we're going to build it, because this is going to be a fairly simple build. All right, where to start? As I think I mentioned, we're not really going to work on the project today. This is going to be kind of a thing that we're going to span over to next episode, and I think we went past where I wanted to go. We get in these single, trains with no cars to just get around real quick, and boy, they can really move. So it's easy to zip right past where you're going. Back it up a little bit there. Just go ahead and get out. Make sure we get it off the track. Stop, please. Stop. Brakes. Thank you. You can't delete a train while it's moving. All right. So this is where we're going to start. So, we were talking about the next thing and the last thing that we need to do are the cooling systems. And it's not a particularly complicated recipe. In fact, we're going to use the base recipe for this. And what we really need the most of will be nitrogen. So all the way out here in the rocky desert, this is where we're going to get our nitrogen. But we're not going to build out here. As much as I do enjoy this area, we have this great outpost, this very organic outpost that, we kind of tried something new with it, and I just absolutely love how we got this great theme going throughout this whole area. But we're not going to build in this area. We are, however, going to utilize the nitrogen that is in the area. Come on. Show me the cable, please. I know it's over here. There it is. Actually, let's grab this in. Come on. I don't know what is up with these cables lately. Come on. There you go. And there we go. So what we need is, we need a nitrogen from this location. We're going to need heat sinks, which will come from home. And we're going to need rubber. And some water too, which is easy to come by. And I was thinking about where I wanted to build this and how I wanted to bring it together. And initially I was going to build it on the west coast near our turbo fuel plant where we're producing tons of rubber. But I came up with a better idea, or a more interesting idea, I think. And I kind of didn't want to build in that area as much as I wanted to kind of build somewhere else for our last real project. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the nitrogen from right here. So I haven't done the math on this, but if we look at the map, we do have a beacon here. Minimize that. And the beacon shows us that we have 1 normal and 6 pure nodes. Now all we really need is, I think, 1200. We could use a little bit more, but I think 1200 is going to be fine for us, which would come out to 2 Mark II pipes. And that's pretty convenient for us. And, we've done bottling loops a number of times, usually on water, and I kind of considered it, but when I really was thinking about it, I wanted to do something different. And I kind of wanted to mirror something that we see commonly in the real world, which is kind of transcontinental pipelines. Now, we haven't done this with conveyor belts, but conveyor belts kind of add a very heavy load to the game, and you don't really want to run them for extended distances. Also, they don't look very clean when you run them too long. Piping, however, kind of looks industrial and is a lot more believable when you're talking about long distances. So what we're going to do is we're going to tap this node and we're going to just run them down the coast. I might even run them out into the water just to, how there are gas pipelines going across, the channels in Europe and whatnot, but probably we'll just run them down the coastline. And so it's going to be quite a bit of piping. But I think it'll look all right, and it'll also mean we won't have to run, a whole new train station all the way out here just to pick up the nitrogen. No, I think that all we're going to do is we're going to tap this here, and that's going to be it. So let's examine the next part of the plan. Oh, I love this place. If you remember this is our Northern Spire location that we did our initial build for a bunch of circuit boards over there. Crazy amount of circuit boards. Let's back this up a little bit so it doesn't get in the way. And I don't want to go over it too much because we'll probably do a world tour here in a episode or two, probably a couple from now. But this was our first build after update 6 when they reworked this whole area. And it is just the most beautiful area on the map. I mean, it just, I'm hoping that when 1.0 comes out that they will have revamped some other areas to reflect just how beautifully detailed this area is. Now, not everything has to be as gorgeous, but they really went overboard when they worked out this area, and it is just amazing. It's so wonderful just to hang out in this area. It's so nice. And for our last build, I think this is where I want to come back out to this area and build again. Just kind of finish out, this hub. We've got this massive train station that, we're using for only on one side, and it's carrying our, let's see here, it's carrying rubber and of course the circuit boards that I mentioned right there. So this should be rubber, and these are the circuit boards. Well, as I mentioned, for the recipe for the cooling systems, we need rubber, and this is a dedicated rubber for supplemental stuff. So we can basically tap this for free. Now, we are using rubber over there in the circuit board factory, but it's producing its own rubber in-house. It's not touching the rubber that we have coming to this station. So this is free. We can tap this line and we can use it to our heart's content for the rubber that we're going to need for the cooling systems. And it's producing enough, not a whole lot more than what we need, but it is producing enough for us to be able to cover it. Because we don't need too much for that facility. And we'll probably build it somewhere right in this area. I think that'd be pretty good, right? It'd be between that big old building and that one over there. And, maybe we'll try to stick with that theme, the kind of dark grayish black outlines, lots of glass. I love it. And the reason I did those is because I felt like it reflected well upon this area. And being inside those buildings allows you to look out and enjoy the environment. So we're going to build somewhere in this area, and it'll also make it easy to tap the water that we're going to need for the recipe. So that brings us to the last thing we need, which will be the heat sinks, which can be found right here, back at home in our big old warehouse. And the warehouse is pretty packed. We've used up most of the slots in it, which is pretty nice. We do have an open slot left there, which maybe the cooling systems will end up there. But we need to export the heat sinks from the warehouse out to the site. And we do have the ability to do so on a train, but the train station is getting a little bit crowded, and we've underutilized one of the features of the game, something I'd like to have more of a reason to use. So we're going to use it because, well, it was something I wanted to do anyway, which is, of course, drones. Now, I don't believe that we are importing batteries to this site. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to plop down a couple of drone stations up here. And that was always intended when I built this roof, was to have the option to have drones up here. So we'll figure out a way of bringing out the heat sinks and bringing them up and putting them into a drone port up here on top probably, or maybe over there. We could put it over there. We'll just look and see how it comes out aesthetically, but we'll load it up with heat sinks, and we'll have a second drone port that we'll use to bring batteries in from the battery factory, which already has its own drone ports. And that'll give us another product that we don't actually have in the warehouse. So we can import them, split them off to the drone port that's going to deliver our heat sinks, and then split the rest of them off into a container in the warehouse. So I think that's going to be the plan. And it's going to be a plan that we're going to start next episode. Oh, look. Sorry, I got distracted there. Looking over in the distance, we can see the Fabergé egg way off in the distance. I didn't realize we could see it so well from this far away. Wow, that building's a lot bigger than I expected it to be. But it's a thing of beauty, and I like having an interesting skyline. But let's head over to the house. We always cut to the outro. But we'll give you one more taste of just how bad the FPS has gotten since Update 8 in this area. Oh boy, it is struggling. Oh man. Oh, this is shameful. And right through the door. That's the trip I take off camera every time towards the end of the episode. But I think we're going to wrap it for today. I know we didn't really build anything new, but we certainly accomplished a lot in making progress towards completing the space elevator before early access ends. I still have a lot to do to get cooling systems up and running, and I'll probably be back and forth between working on that project and the space elevator to make sure that it's moving forward at all times. So tentatively, let's expect to have cooling systems done next episode, which will be episode 69. And to be classy, we're not going to end on 69. Ideally, we'll do episode 70 as kind of a world tour and a farewell to the series that has been so fun to make. Pixel Perfect Season 1. And start to get ready for Season 2. So thank you so much for coming back. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope that you've been enjoying the series. And I really hope you're as excited as I am for 1.0 coming out. So be sure to leave a like on the way out, subscribe if you haven't, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode when we start to wrap things up. If you enjoyed this, you may want to check out one of these other videos, and thank you very much for your time.